All right, we're in section 5.6 on factoring practice. Did you have a chance to do 7 through 11? Hopefully you worked on those few problems and you can check your answers with mine now so that you have a good foundation on factoring before I move on to the next few sections in chapter 5. All right, let's look at number 7. It's in order. There's no GCF. There's 2 terms, and it's not a difference of squares because there's a plus sign there. So maybe it's a sum of cubes. I have to be able to write both of them as cubes. It looks like the x is cubed, but I need to change the 8 into something cubed. So I'm going to say 2 cubed, which is the same thing as 8. Now I have my 2 bases, and I can use my cubes formula. Remember, we start with a little parenthesis, we have a big parenthesis, and we're going to do our signs first. It's the same sign, opposite sign, and then always a plus sign. My first term is x, my second term is 2. Then I'm going to do x times x, which is x squared. I'm going to do x times 2, which is 2x. And then I'm going to do 2 times 2, which is 4. I have all my terms filled in, and that should be the factored version of my original. You might try factoring this more, but typically that doesn't factor anymore. So this would be the end of our factored version. All right, look at number 8. Is it in order? Ooh, hopefully that's the first thing you noticed and you put it in order. So I did the 12x squared first minus 20x minus 8. Is there a GCF? Ah, there's a GCF too. I took out a 4. That left me with a 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. I have a leftover trinomial with a coefficient in front other than 1. So let's try to bottoms up. Multiply, factor, divide, reduce, and bottoms up. Don't forget your GCF. You should have a 4 out in front. You should have an x minus 2 and a 3x plus 1. Hopefully you got the same thing I did. All right, what about number 9? It's in order. There's no GCF. There's 2 terms. Is that a difference of cubes? Or excuse me, a difference of squares? Well, doesn't 49, isn't there a square root of 49? Isn't that 7? Ooh, the problem is there's a plus sign in between, and there is no way that I can multiply to a positive 49 and add to 0. That's why there is no middle term. Did you say prime on that one? Hopefully, because that one is not factorable. So be careful on those. Don't let me get you. All right, last 2. Number 10, is it in order? Yes. Is there a GCF? Ooh, hopefully you took out a 2 first. I took out a 2. That left me with an x to the 4th minus 16. That's a binomial. 2 terms, and there's a subtraction sign in between. So can I take and do a difference of squares with that one? It looks like I can I? I can take that x to the 4th and break it down into an x squared and an x squared, and I can take the 16 and break it down into a positive 4 and a negative 4. So this is what I got. I got 2, I got an x squared minus 4, and an x squared plus 4. Is that what you got for your final answer? Hopefully you noticed that this binomial is also a difference of squares, and it can be factored down even more into an x minus 2 and an x plus 2. Now the other one can't, remember, because there's a plus sign, but the first one can. So if we are asked to factor, we need to make sure that we factor all the way down. So our final answer should actually have 4 different factors: 2, x minus 2, x plus 2, and an x squared plus 4. All right, last one, number 11. It looks like it's in order. No GCF. It has 1, 2, 3 terms and no number in front, or really an invisible one. So this looks like a basic factor problem. So numbers that multiply to -6 that add to give me -1 should be a -3 and a positive 2. They multiply to -6, they add to give me -1, and that's my factored version. That was a basic factor one. All right, make sure that you follow those 7 steps every single time you do a problem, and hopefully it'll kind of guide you into the correct factoring technique. But we're going to start kind of jumbling all of these up. We're going to do a little bit more with factoring in our next section on solving, and then we're going to do some applications. How can we actually use this stuff in real life? So make sure you do 5.6 and you practice all your different techniques before we get a little more challenging. I like to say more fun.